Welcome to America at Play. I'm your host, Butch Cons, and with me tonight to discuss politics is my co-host, Miami Committee woman and journalist Angie Wong, and our special guest tonight is North Carolina GOP delegate, grassroots activist, Southern Belle, and podcast star Margot Akis. Ladies, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having us on again. Margot, welcome to the show. Nice to see you.
It's good to meet you finally, and it's nice to see you, Butch.
Okay, ladies, we're going to start right out with the first topic is going to be the death of Pope Francis and its implications for the United States. I'm gonna let Angie go first on this.
You're gonna let the girl who doesn't go to church be the first one up for this. You know what? I did see.
Yeah, but are you not? Did you not tell me you were Catholic?
Ish. I never got
Well,
baptized.
we
you
all
guys.
listen. We all Catholics at least go to church on Christmas and Easter. So go ahead, Angie.
Yeah, no. Look, I remember seeing Pope Francis back in St. Peter's Square about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, and it was one of the most thrilling moments of my life to see so many parishioners from literally all over the world gather just to have a glimpse of him, to spend Sunday with him. It was quite the incredible figure, and the only other time that I've ever seen such a gathering and just so much, just how do I even put it, it's almost like coming out of the closet if that makes any sense, was when I went to see President Trump for the first time and going to see a Trump rally. I really was scared. I mean, I had heard all these awful things about him, and this was years ago, and he was like the orange man bad. And then I remember sitting in my car going, do I get out and go to this rally or what do I do? And some guy like tapped on my windshield and said, "Are you coming or what? Just come with us." And I was like, "Okay." And of course, I walk in to this huge arena, and I'm thinking, "Oh man, I don't know anyone here," and everyone thinks like, like, "Oh, who's this Chinese girl?" And I swear to God, within 15 minutes, people were inviting me over for barbecues. That's how nice MAGA people are. Once they get to know
Yep.
you, it's like your family. And that's kind of, I mean, I know we're talking about the Pope in this segment, but that's exactly how I felt like when I was in St. Peter's Square. But that's my memory of the Pope. I don't know how it affects the US. Does it in any way?
Yeah,
I don't know. Margot, what do you think?
Okay, so
Yes.
Catholicism is becoming the newest, most popular Christian religion in America and across the globe, for that matter. And I think there's a significant importance to seeing Catholicism on the rise, especially with Gen Zers. That's important. I am not Catholic, so I want to state that up front. So anything I say is from an outside perspective. I personally I'm sad for the passing of the Pope from a traditional perspective and the position that he held. This particular Pope, frankly, I hope you guys can do better. I just think that this guy was very divisive. I think that he had some policies that were political, which we all know the Pope is political, even if people don't want to state that he is. I kind of am hoping that, and listen, I'm not a Bryson Gray like advocate. If you don't know who he is on X, you should. He's from North Carolina. But Bryson Gray made a really interesting statement today because there's a lot of, forgive the phrase, holier than thou Catholics, some people call them gropers, who have this view that you can only be a certain way. And Bryson said, wouldn't it be interesting if we got a black pope after everything that the Nick Fuentes crew has put America through, trying to say you're not a conservative because they stand on the religious side of trying to be better than. And I don't think people feel that way. I think there's a segment of people that feel that way. But I do think it's an interesting thought that we may actually get a pope that is more aligned with conservative values and isn't so open to illegal immigration, isn't so open to, forgiving people for abortions, things that we've seen recently, not a criticism of the church, of the pope. I personally believe in the position. I believe that, having been to the Vatican several times, being around many Catholics, Butch is Catholic. I have lots of Catholic friends who really look to the Pope for a sign. And I want them to have the best sign for our future, for America's future, but also for the globe. So it's tragic, but at the same time, there's a lot of hope in this moment, and we all know where he's going, so that's a good sign.
Okay, ladies, the Catholics going to talk about this now.
I'm so glad.
I am going to probably shock the world, and I'm probably going to go to hell for what I'm about to say. Okay, I was not a fan of Pope Francis. I think he did more damage than any pope since I've been alive to the Catholic Church. I'm sorry, LGBTQ is never been welcomed into the Catholic Church or any other religion. So why he would do that is beyond me. He pisses me off every time he talks about us having open borders. He needs to mind his own business and stay in his lane. Um, he went crazy on Trump about border walls, but yet he lives in a compound that is surrounded by walls and guarded by military. Okay, that's about as hypocritical as you can get. Now, that being said, I mourn anybody who dies, but is my heart broken because Pope Francis died? Hell no. I think it's one of the best things that could happen to the
You
Catholic
really
Church right
so
now,
much.
and that's my opinion. And I know I'm going to go to hell as a Catholic for saying that, but that is just. And my wife will tell you I've been that way for a long time. Now I'm going to give you a little piece of. I'm going to give you a little piece of, and we're going to get into the United States here in a minute, but I'm going to give you a little piece of trivia right now. Where do you think the largest Catholic church in the United States is located? Margot, I'm going to go to you first.
Well, I think you've told me, but if you haven't,
Probably have.
it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, I believe. Now, I could be wrong.
Angie, what do you think?
I would have thought New York, but then again, I haven't been as
Yeah,
exposed. Look, can I just ask one question before you give us
sure,
the answer?
sure.
Was Pope Francis known as the Red Pope? Have you heard of this?
I have not heard of that.
I'll explain
Not
that to
heard of
you
that.
later, but he was the open borders pope, and
Right.
they called him the Red
Okay.
Pope
Right.
down in South America because he
Okay.
literally helped migrants and all the migrations come up, and there was various rumors about that, but I just
Well,
wanted to see if you knew anything
but
about
Angie, isn't he? I think he's from South America originally, isn't
it.
he?
He's from Argentina,
That's what I thought.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Argentina, I think you're right.
yeah, that's right.
All right,
So,
ladies. Here's
what's
the
the
answer to the
answer?
trivia. Charlotte, North Carolina, St. Matthews. Over 12,000 families. Now,
Hmm.
Angie, when I found that out from our priest in Mooresville, okay, and we had 4,200 families. It was a large church that Eileen and I were involved in. Eileen was a parish chair, and I was the athletic director. But I'm here to tell you, I would have thought Detroit, Chicago,
New
LA,
York.
New York, Philadelphia, Boston. The last place you would have ever got me to say was Charlotte, North Carolina. But the fact is, St. Matthews, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Well, I
Now,
only know that because of you, Butch. Honestly, just full
yeah,
disclosure, you said that to me one time, and I never forgot it. I
I
think. I
I
think
was floored.
one more reason why I think that's interesting is the New York when 9/11 happened, the banking moved to Charlotte. That's exactly where they moved to, and I believe the
Yep.
population of Catholics came with it. Not that there weren't Catholics there before, but a larger number of Catholics came, and we've had a lot of Mecklenburg County, which is where Charlotte is a sanctuary city. So, I mean, I'm
Ah,
not saying
Right.
anything bad. I'm just giving you some context.
mm.
Here's another very strange trivial thing here in North Carolina. Every Catholic church, and they did this on purpose, every Catholic church is 13 miles from the next closest Catholic church.
Really?
Yes.
That's just
Yep.
here, or
That's in North Carolina.
that's in North
And
Carolina?
the largest property holder in North Carolina
Is the church.
is the bishop of the North Carolina archdiocese in the church, the
So that's
Catholic
the
Church.
largest
Largest,
private property owner, right? Private property owner.
correct,
Okay.
correct, in the state.
Okay. Because I know the Chinese
Now
own
let's go.
the majority
Let's
of.
let's go to the United States. Most of Latin America is Catholic. Okay, the majority, high majority, is Catholic. It's like going to the Middle East, and most of them are Muslim. All right. Do Will it affect the U.S.? It will absolutely affect the U.S. depending on which way the next pope goes, because the Trump administration and whoever follows after that is not going to have to deal with the pope trying to dictate the border, the southern border. Okay. Again, my opinion is the guy should have never opened his mouth to start with. He's supposed to be the pope. He's not a damn president of a country. Okay. But yet he kept butting his nose in and saying how the United States was wrong for putting up walls and closing the border and so forth. All right. I believe that especially if this new pope, and I gotta believe the next pope is going to back away from this a little bit, keeps their nose out of U.S. policy, then yes, it affects the United States.
Mm. I agree with you, Butch, but here's the thing. I think that Pope Francis was pushing up migration into the US and other places because
Absolutely.
US churches, they were losing partitioners, right? They didn't have the big numbers they used to. 20 years of weird scandals and all this other stuff. Well, a lot of Catholics left the church, including my husband, because it was
100%.
wrapped up in scandal. And he didn't want to give his $20 every single time he went to church because he didn't want to support any of this weirdness that we were seeing in the news all the time with,
Hmm.
whomever with little boys. Again, prove it in court or not. So they had a problem with attendees, and therefore they had a problem with donations. And that's where it always came from. So this Pope was pushing more and more people upwards into North America just so the churches can get filled. I mean, that's one theory anyway. But I don't see how the next Pope wouldn't want to have a similar agenda. Now, it's going to be quasi-political no matter what, because this is a massive figurehead that comes with millions and millions of followers worldwide. It's going to be political.
1.6 billion Catholics worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that just
You
came
got to
out.
grow it.
Here,
You got to
here's
grow the party.
here's the thing. Just so you ladies know, I have broken away from the Catholic Church and then come back to it. Okay, I was a deacon in a Church of Christ, and I was a deacon in a non-denominational Baptist church. Okay, I broke away mainly because of the pedophile problem that they had.
Mm,
And I couldn't deal with it. It was wrong. I wasn't going to pretend like it didn't exist, and I wasn't going to have anything to do with it. Okay.
mm,
I am a devout Catholic, but I am not a Catholic no matter what. Okay. Kind of like the Democrats today. The Democrats that are are going to be Democrats no matter, you know, what the Democratic Party does, they're still going to be Democrats. Well, that's not me. And, it's like I say, I honestly think it's to the United States advantage having Pope Francis no longer there. I truly do.
98% of Latinos are
So,
Catholics.
yeah, 98% of, just so you ladies know, 98% of Latinos are Catholic. That's a fact.
yeah. No,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, let's see when the white smoke goes up, right? To see who the next pope is. I'm excited. No, I
Well,
agree. There's just so much change in the world all at once,
Really?
isn't there? Like,
after
are
bringing,
you
well,
tired?
after, after bringing the LGBTQ into the Catholic Church, who knows? It might not be black or white. It might be rainbow color smoke. Who knows?
Oh, geez.
Yes.
Well, but just to be fair, the Methodists have done that as well. and have had a significant
Mhm.
falling out with a portion of their church. So and what
Right.
I would say to everyone, regardless of your religion, is a lot of religious or a lot of churches have, I don't want to be careful what I say, have been captured. They've been captured. We've moved
Mhm.
away from religion and moved into a venue of political perspective mashed in with some religious overtones. And I think it's fair to say that out loud because I don't want Catholics to feel like they're the
100%.
ones that are feeling that. I mean, I can tell you most Baptists aren't like that for sure. But there are religions that Lutherans, Methodists, that have taken on the
Prot-
perspective of
Pro-
the Catholic Church.
Protestants are
Yeah.
Protestants are a big one that have done that too.
Well,
Big time.
Protestants are broken down into Methodist, Lutheran, just so you know.
Well,
I'm one of those.
yeah, yeah.
But I have to say, that's the one thing we watched really fall apart, especially during
Mhm.
COVID. It wasn't just over the LGBTQ thing. It was regarding how they handled COVID and whether you could go to a service. It was how they've handled most of the political issues since COVID, especially around children, accepting this whole gay thing. It's just interesting to see, and I don't want everybody to think it's just Catholics because it is not.
Let me give you an example of what Father Mark Lawler, who is the head priest at St. Therese Catholic Church, where Eileen and I were before we moved to the mountains, did during COVID. Okay. Number one, he shut down the food closet. And we had a very big food
That's
closet where
terrible.
people who were hurting could come in and get food, to keep from starving. He shut it down, but yet just that church collected almost $200,000 in government subsidies for payroll. That's not right. And I had a problem with it. So, like I say, I'm Catholic, but I don't pussyfoot around the bullshit that goes on in the Catholic Church either. And if I go to hell for it, I go to hell for it, I guess. But all right, ladies, let's go to the next thing. Will the Supreme Court side with parents regarding LGBTQT books in the schools? Margot, we're going to let you lead this one off.
Well, so I listened to the entire argument the other day with SCOTUS, and what I found particularly perplexing for me was the fact that they actually wanted to toss it. They were actually talking about, do we even need to do this? And one of the arguments that I thought was so ridiculous was Judge Kavanaugh said, I can't believe that we're talking about this in the school district because my kids went to school there. His kids went to school there 20 years ago. Things have changed. And frankly, the fact that we're having a discussion at the Supreme Court on parental rights, because that's what this is about. This is about, does the
Certainly.
parent have a right to take a child out? Really is disturbing. It's disturbing to me.
Yep, agreed. Angie, you got school-age kids. I want to hear what you got on this.
Yeah, well, so when my kids were in school, in a public school in New York City, this very thing happened where there were sexualized books for as young as first graders, maybe even kindergarteners, that they could pull from the shelves and read them. And, as a parent, you couldn't say anything because if I did, I would be ostracized and my kids would also be bullied in school. So all the parents just zipped it. But the dads and I, we would go after dropping off our kids, we'd grab a coffee and we're all like whispering because we're afraid someone with a pussy pink cat would like hear us and come after us and spit in our coffee or something. So we devised a plan where a small group of us went into New York City public libraries and we checked out these books indefinitely. You can charge me all you want for late fees. You're never getting that book back. So we would go library to
Like it.
library and yank out all these books, a small group of parents and I. And we just kind of kept our mouths shut about it and we took it out of circulation. Then I went to, I forget what it was, CPAC or one of these, Republican convention type things. And other parents would come out and say, what do we do? There's all these books. And then they would show me pictures of the books. I said, organize a small group of moms or parents and yank these books out. That way they can't do anything about it. You're not being vocal about it. And this was the time, this was about 2016-ish, when you couldn't talk about stuff like this, right? and you just had to like live it, and that was horrible. But that's what we did. So I'm very happy to see that the Supreme Court did do a ruling on this and sided with the
They haven't ruled
parents.
yet. They haven't ruled yet.
I thought they did.
They
I
didn't
thought they
rule.
had.
Oh,
They heard it. They haven't
no,
Just
ruled.
heard it. Oh, I see. I thought they were
yeah.
siding with the parents on this.
Not yet.
But
I think listening to all of them, with maybe the exception of Jackson,
Oh,
I
she's
think they're
nuts.
all going to side with the parents.
I agree.
Jackson, she's a whack job. So, let's put it this way: Biden put her in. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, but
You know.
Sotomayor was really nutty too. If you listen to it, they both had pretty radical views. I'll just say, but to your point, Angie, they are the critics are saying they're leaning towards the parents.
well, if
And
there's
they should.
anything we can do, well, look, I mean, we have to do a workaround if they don't do it. This is not a First Amendment issue. Look, I get that some people will want this book. I don't know if it was framed right within the religious kind of parameters that they put this case through. People are outraged. And again, nobody wants to deal with this, and no parent wants to sexualize their kids so early and make it fashionable. That's the problem I had with all this, that they made this fashionable. I mean, Butch knows the story, but Margot, you're probably hearing about it for the first time. My kid, I have a son, and they put him in a tutu on Tuesdays because teacher Michael bought tutus for the boys to wear, right? And he was
Wait a minute, you
maybe,
never told me about this.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Is this
And
in New
again,
York?
this is in New York. I was in a West Village
Wow.
public school, and I had to be okay with it. We also had the drag queen hour, the storytelling hours. I had to be okay with it because if you spoke up, they're coming after you. And again, maybe that's why I've become who I am today. Like, where's my red MAGA hat? Because you told me to shut up and I just won't do it.
Wow.
No, these are your kids. You got to protect them. And I can't,
That,
it's just too much.
ladies, is why my son went to Catholic schools. Right there.
And that's why mine they're both in Catholic schools right now. I can't do it
There you
anymore.
go.
Can't do
And
it.
and is that not one of the best decisions you ever made, Angie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'm a New York City public school kid. I thought, it's a different kind of education for sure. But the public schools are really just fully there to indoctrinate and for
Mm-hmm.
activism. And I know this firsthand.
That is insane. If I
It's
found out
insane.
my daughter had to put on like a guy's garb or something, and they didn't tell me, and she told me, you'd see Mad Margot at the school.
Oh, goddamn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goddamn.
No, it's wild, but it's also New York City. So again, I'm happy to not be there, and I'm happy to have my kids in private school, and that's what you have to pay for, unfortunately. And that was,
Yep.
a period of time. Now, is that going to change now that Trump is in office? I don't know, because it is completely throughout the education system. The teachers' colleges are pumping this stuff in, right?
Absolutely.
And they are rah-rahing each other because they think it's okay to be an activist in the classroom. That's why Trump today signed an executive order to bring AI into the classrooms. Why? Because he wants to know, and he wants the parents to know what exactly these teachers are teaching their kids. I'll give you one example. I had one teacher in the entire building in this public school who hung an American flag in his classroom. Just one. And he had to stand up to the principal to make sure that flag was up.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Good for him for standing up.
I will say, I think both of you had your children in pretty large cities for schools. Is that true, Butch? Yeah. See, I
Yes.
think I'm very, very lucky. I took the opposite route from most people. I decided it was worth commuting 100 miles to work and putting my child in a very rural community that is not going to tolerate that kind of stuff. And everybody talks, so I would know. Plus, my parents were here at the time. So I tried really hard to put my kid in a very succinct environment that I knew that she would be kind of enclosed. Like this is where I live now, which is in Western North Carolina. Literally, kids don't have homework on Wednesday night so they can go to church. They literally It's a real family community. So I think if there's one thing I can say about small town America, they really try hard for the children in that respect.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's the answer, you guys. You heard it right there from Margot. Yeah, no, I look, we got to do something. Trump can't be the answer for all of this. Parents
No,
have to step up.
that's right.
And the Supreme
Yeah,
Court, please.
parents and American citizens, not illegals, American citizens
Taxpayers.
need to step up and have a backbone and say enough's enough.
Well, and
Unfortunately, we have too many citizens that are chicken shit to do that, to put it
but
very
which
bluntly.
but you know what I love is that the three of us all realize that the tax burden falls upon us. And even if you don't have children in school, if you're paying taxes, you have a say. And people here,
Right.
that's the one thing I hear the most is you don't have any kids in school. I don't care. I probably pay more taxes than you do. If I don't want that in the school system because I'm paying for it, I have every right to say so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, ladies, maybe my favorite subject of the week. Christy Gnome's purse and government credentials being stolen at a restaurant. Now, I'm going to go first on this one. I guess her family is in for vacation and she was out to dinner with her family. Secret Service was there, not at the table, but there, watching the place. Some guy comes in dressed in black, sits back to back with her. They have him on the cameras, inching his way back towards her, and then taking his foot, sliding her purse up to where he is, putting it in his jacket, looking around to make sure it's clear, and walking out. Angie, what's your take on this? My take was, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I got to be honest with you. It's like, what the hell?
I don't know. What do you think Metro Police is doing right now about this? Like, it's so easy to find
Nothing.
people. Well, but it's so easy to find people. Quite honestly, I'm just curious what was in her purse other than $3,000, right, in cash. I mean,
All of her
Who carries that around?
government credentials, all of her government credentials, for one.
yeah, but it's just like, who is this guy? Is he a reporter? Is he like, clearly this
Oh
was
no.
intentional. He knew what he was
Yep.
doing. So who is this
Yep.
guy? And like, does he pose a national security risk now because he's got, like, keys to her office? I have no idea. This story gets
I would say,
weirder
wait a minute,
and
I would
weirder.
say yes to that question.
Yeah.
He absolutely, he's got credentials to get in the building. I'm sure they've shut him down, but yes, of course he's a national security threat.
Yeah, no, I don't know what to make of it. What has she said about it?
Not very little.
Not a whole lot.
She did talk
She's
to
being
Tom.
very, very quiet.
She talked to Tim Pool for a minute. But here's the funny part. Who carries $3,000 around in their purse, like in cash? It's a rare. I'm not saying I haven't done it, but it's not something I do every day, Frank, first of all. And secondly,
Right.
good luck catching me with my purse because I carry a big ass purse. I would get it out of your hand and it's heavy. You would never get it out the door before I'd catch your arm.
Do you carry a gun in there? That's what I want to know if
Sometimes
she
I do.
carries.
Sometimes I do.
In DC, you can't. So
Oh, that's
I'm going to
right.
say that's no. But
But
I know
she's
it was a
law
Gucci
enforcement.
purse.
But she's law
Doesn't matter.
enforcement. Really? I thought you
No,
could.
Secret Service can.
Hmm.
Secret Service can.
I don't know.
Was
But
she wearing
you
her
know,
bulletproof vest as well? Like
A
her
dinner.
ice vest?
A
Was that what she
I
was
have no
wearing?
idea. I have no idea. Like I say, I thought it was the most bizarre thing that happened all week, personally. It's like you're in a restaurant, some guy rips you off, you don't even know it until you reach down for your purse. The guy walks right past the Secret Service guys, and they don't, you don't see a guy, doing this with a purse inside his coat. Come on.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm just a techie. So for me, I'd be like,
Yeah.
why didn't she have an Apple tag in her purse? Why didn't you have some kind of GPS
Good
tracker?
point, Margot.
I'm a weirdo,
Especially in her
though.
position.
Yeah. And if her phone was on the table, I'm sure she has two phones. Let's be honest with each other.
Right.
So
Right.
was another
Right.
person in that phone that could have been GPS tracked?
Or you could just
Probably good.
geo-track that entire restaurant, right? And find out who came
They
in
did
and
it for
out.
J6.
Look, they could figure out my face anywhere in the world, wherever I go. I'm sure they could find out who this guy dressed in black was walking out of a particular restaurant. I mean, how many people had cell phones there? How many people had trackers on? This whole thing just sounds weird.
Totally
I bet it
bizarre.
was Corey
Well,
Lewandowski.
but we're looking at liberal central in Washington, D.C. Is
Yeah,
there
but this
any place
one,
in this country that's more liberal than Washington, D.C.?
but it
Austin.
could have been anybody.
Now,
Like,
listen, you've
Yeah.
missed the biggest joke that that Angie just made about Corey Lewandowski.
Well,
That is
I
hilarious.
caught it. That's right, because
it's
they're supposed to be
it's
having
bizarre.
that's I forgot about that. They're supposed to be having some kind of a fling, right? Okay. Well,
She didn't say it. I just nodded. I just have to think. I just think this whole
They're
thing's
good
bizarre.
friends,
Very good friends.
I
Very good.
just
very good
I
friends.
found it bizarre. I found it bizarre. Okay, ladies, let's see what we got here. Oh, this Margot, this is going to be right up your alley. Mine too. Angie, roll with
I'm
us on
sitting
this,
back.
okay? The craziness going on within the NC GOP, including a pedophile being a district chair and on the rules committee.
No, he's not
Margot,
on
I
the
gotta
rules
let you
committee.
go. I gotta let you go on this. You roll on this, girl.
First of all, he's not on the rules committee. He's on the plan of organization committee. And the reason why that
I'm
is
sorry, my bad.
important is because they put the bylaws together. And because he's a felon, the only felon that I know of that's on that state committee, NCGOP state committee, he is not wanting to upgrade the felony clause in the bylaws. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. Angie, in District 1, I know you've been down there a few times. Harvey West, convicted pedophile, sex offender, did 7 years in jail for indecent liberties with 3 girls. As a police officer, he was 29 years old. The girls were 14. I fought vehemently against him being district chair again because I feel like that's just not appropriate. Plus, he lost as a supermajority, and he lost the seat for Larry Buckout. So I don't feel like he's a 3-time loser as far as I'm concerned. So here's my thing: the convention is in contest. It is acknowledged by the NCGOP that the convention is in contest, and the reason why it's in contest, the District 1 convention for the chair, by the way, for people that don't know, is because Bobby Foley, who was running against him, her real name is Barbara Weingartner, or Barbara Weinstein. I don't know, Barbara something. Anyway, Bobby is a nickname for Barbara, and she didn't change her last name on her voter registration because she's not married to her live-in, but she goes by his last name. But she was acknowledged as a delegate as Bobby Foley. But when they went to nominate her from the floor, AJ Dowd, who's a bully and a former police officer, I think in New York, also not such a nice guy. Apparently, he has his own issues. He told her in a very bullying way, I could arrest you for this because your names don't match. But they let her vote on every issue. So I think that Harvey West he's a terrible representation of what the NCGOP should represent for us. He's not the only one. There's a disbarred lawyer, permanently for life disbarred lawyer, Mark Dell. There's many of them, people that have pled guilty to writing bad checks, all kinds of people. But the point is, until the NCGOP gets a backbone and starts to do things like have a felony clause that has teeth in it, do background checks on people, then this is what we get. This is what we get.
Yeah, why isn't there like almost like a national rule amongst all the GOP clubs to not have felons? We had the same problem here in Florida where there was something put on the table about this, and because one guy had a pending, he was charged with something but had not gone to court yet, he knocked it out. And it's like, why you can't be in leadership positions, you can't even have a gun. So like, what are you doing? Like, you are not a good example for the rest of us. But they can't believe that because they're generally narcissists and they believe that they're the victims and they did no wrong. And so therefore they should have, positions of power. This is a terrible look for the party. but I don't know how to get this through to people because everyone's got big agendas.
Well, first of all, we also know Georgia has the same problem
Absolutely.
with with with
Every
with,
county of
with
every state has this problem.
well, you got Stan Fitzgerald down there, who is a federal felon in the biggest forgery fraud case in
And
U.S.
not a
history,
Republican.
and
Not a Republican,
but he's a GOP delegate
which is weird.
because they have backwards rules in Georgia. Um, we've got this guy. I'm sorry, as a high school baseball and football coach for 27 years, and Angie, I'm going to get into this a little deeper. I thought Margot might, but I'm going to do it. Um, I have a problem with that. As a coach, you don't do this kind of thing. This guy, when he did it, was a cop. And some of it happened when he was in uniform and in his patrol car. But yet, and this is a fact, okay? Allegheny County's chair is a consular. I talked to her. She said the same thing my doctor said. My sister-in-law, who is a forensic psychologist for the state of Michigan, and a psychiatrist buddy of mine. Pedophilia is not something that can be treated. Once a pedophile, always a pedophile. But yet they're letting this guy into a position, not just one, more than one position of power. It is an embarrassment not only to the NCGOP, it's an embarrassment to the Republican Party nationally to have this clown there. That's my opinion, ladies.
Can you go do a workaround, like maybe a sexual predator can't, I don't know. I just imagine there's got to be a workaround, a legal workaround on this one. I mean,
I think the best workaround is to change the rules, make the bylaws stick. And honestly, you shouldn't want any type of felon of that capacity, and a lot of them anyway, around young Republicans and teenage Republicans. Those are called TARs, and young Republicans who are, less than 40 years old. I wouldn't want people like that around my kid if she was, 15, or I don't care if she's 20. So to me, it's no different than exposing the thing that we were talking about earlier with priests. It's no different when you have alliances in a group that have young people in it. They should be the most protected.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Maybe have him listed as a sexual predator and then have a member of the GOP bring their child, so he has to leave the building. Well, he can't even attend his own meetings.
Yeah, that would be good, but he had found a way to have it removed.
You can't have that stuff removed once you're a sexual predator.
His status has been removed.
Well, that's questionable there.
But he has not gotten an expungement.
Correct.
Okay. But supposedly Daddy has a lot of money and Daddy's bought his way out of that.
Father-in-law.
Oh, father-in-law. Tomorrow, there will be research done to see if we can't find out if he actually should be listed as a sexual predator, because anybody else in this country should be.
Well, yeah, he can't escape that. Yeah, no, this is certainly a problem with a lot of the nationwide. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why the RNC won't take care of this. The national clubs should definitely have a conference about it. Maybe it's just too touchy. Maybe a lot of money comes in that way. It seems to me like if we're going to be the party of common sense, this is common sense, you guys. Like we should definitely.
Correct. Agreed.
Or maybe, Angie, he's really good friends with Michael Watley.
Yep, there's some truth to that. And let me add to that. We have a state chair, Jason Simmons, who replaced Watley, that doesn't want to rock the boat because in his background, he's got 2 bankruptcies. So he doesn't want anybody checking into him.
It's truly a mess.
So, I mean, our NCGOP is a shit show, to put it very bluntly. It is just, Margot's right. It is a mess. And it's like, and like you said, Angie, you've got it down there in Florida. We know it's going on in Georgia, but back to the common sense factor. Yeah, we're going to be the party of common sense. It's just like the LGBTQ books in the schools with the Supreme Court. This is a common sense 80-20 subject.
It is.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the GOP clubs just attracts the crazies. Is that not the case?
You know what's
I
really
mean,
sad is, here's what I hate, is that one of these felons, the permanently disbarred lawyer, had the nerve to say, listen, we're letting Donald Trump be the leader and he's a felon. And I was like, wait a minute. The crime was found to put on him. That's different than you going to jail and being permanently disbarred because you bullied a witness and tampered with evidence, which you clearly did. I mean, they're trying to liken themselves to be in the same league as Donald Trump, which is laughable.
they all do, because none of them are at fault, Margot.
Right.
They're the victims. They're the good guys.
That's right.
I know. It's the psychology of it is just amazing to me. And maybe that's the trait of, leaders. I mean, maybe you have to be a little bit psychopathic.
I have to share this with both of you. There was a doctor, a psychiatrist, on the Hannity show last night. And he proceeded to go into, what the hell's going on with all these crazy people and why. And he said, you got to separate it from politics. And he was right. And their psyche. And he went on for, I'm going to say, 5 to 7 minutes describing how these people think. Honest to God, ladies, you both know him. Stan Fitzgerald to a T. To a T. I am going to be putting it on social media within the next 48 hours.
I want to watch this clip. So wait, give us some highlights.
My God.
What were the telltale?
He explained what a narcissist does. He explained how it's never their fault. He has hold on one second, ladies. Are we still recording?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll cut that out. Eileen lost internet. He goes on to explain. Listen, it's hard to explain. I will put it on the internet in the next 2 days, and I will let you know when it's on. But I'm telling you, when you listen to it, one name's going to come up in your head because
Maybe
it
more than
fits it to a
one.
T.
I was going to say.
Well, maybe more than one. You're right,
More than
Margot.
I
one.
know a few.
But it's crazy. It was the most insane thing I ever saw. But anyway, all right, ladies, let's go to our next subject. With Democrats trying to bring back a known gang member of MS-13 who is in the United States illegally, why would anyone in their right mind with common sense, as Angie said, vote for a Democrat again? Angie, take this one.
Yeah, they're trying to hold on to this, okay? This is the symbol of the Democratic Party, which is we protect our criminals. And they really do. They believe that. They believe that if they do this, that their base will come back to them, that they will vote for them. And maybe there's some polling and some internal polling that tells them that if you protect criminals, that's a good thing. Now, we saw this 8 years ago as well, right? We've been seeing consistently that they protect criminals over citizens. And that is what's scary to me, that is their ethos. Now, why make this MS-13 guy, their savior? And I can't even wrap my brain around it because it's one guy and he's committed crimes and his gang kills people. Like, all over the place. Why are you making this such a big deal? But it seems to be the thing that they it's like the dog got the bone. They can't let go of this one. And we should just let them do it. We should just let them all fly down there, and we should say no to proxy voting, so half of Congress is out, and then we could just pass whatever bills we want. We could play this our own way. Now, what surprises me about all this is that Anna Paulina Luna is also going down there. She's
really?
jumped in the fight. Yes. And I'm thinking to myself, you are in trouble, young lady, because your district doesn't really like that you're going over there. So maybe I mean, clearly it's a publicity stunt. You know, she's supposed to be for anti-immigration, and maybe she's going to push for it. But, there's a thing called the Logan Act. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe she shouldn't be going down there. Maybe you should let Marco Rubio do things like this. But, that's just me.
I don't know if you know it, but she is the head of the El Salvadorian caucus in Congress. I think
There is one?
she's the only member of it because
Oh.
she is though, because she and Matt Gaetz did it together. So maybe she's doing that as the El Salvadorian caucus to go. I don't know, but I didn't know that either till I saw her and Matt Gaetz speak up about it. I was like, what? But she's kind of a grandstander. I'm not really impressed with her.
No, honestly, she's just trying to back away from this thing that she did a few weeks ago, and she got in trouble with the proxy voting. This is not a better look for her, but maybe she's angling for the UN job. Who knows? Regardless, do we care? I mean, is this worth messing up the country for?
Interesting question. I have one interesting question where this is concerned. If she's going down there, is she taking her baby with her?
That's right. That's the big question, because she's saying she can't work because she has to be around her baby. So you make it very, very
correct.
I don't know. Let's see if she's a hypocrite. I don't know. Right now, she is trying to save her seat. Democrats are going for her own district. I've been monitoring this race for a little bit now. Her own, you see it all over social media. They're just like, what are you doing? This is not a good look, Anna.
But the question is, does Charlie Kirk regret putting the money behind her to get her elected? Because that's who pushed her over the edge.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, and the House Freedom Caucus,
right,
who she left high and dry after they helped her with her reelection. And it's like who is she getting her funding from now, right? I mean, so you have to wonder, is this
caucus.
Look, I don't want to see another Republican lose a seat by any means. We need to keep every single seat possible, and if not gain 4 or 5, right? Just to have the security during the midterms. So I'm not happy about any of this, but given the environment that is in her district, they want her out. And it's like, okay, well, who else you got? Now back to this MS-13 dude. Why, look, clearly we're giving money to El Salvador for, a lot of the prisoners to go in, for a lot of these members to be shipped over, right? I think it's a good move. It's possibly a temporary move, but we had to move them out somewhere. And Gitmo was also going to be a really bad look for us. So it's great that that El Salvador took them on. We are paying them a lot of money every single day for these prisoners to be there. I think we send them all there. And if Democrats want to join them, hey, why don't you just move there? Why don't you just get a visa? Why don't you have a second home there? Just, it seems like they're aligned with that anyway.
One-way ticket.
We'll fly them over there.
Here's the part that cracks me up. The Democrats are in such a panic, and we're not even 100 days into the Trump administration, and they're in such a panic that they are going to make this their standing point about bringing back an MS-13 terrorist, gang member, whatever you want to call him, who beats the hell out of his wife and is here illegally. Guess what? You bring him back, they're going to arrest him, and they're going to send him back anyway for being here illegally. I mean, this is the dumbest. The Democrats have lost their flipping minds.
No, well, Butch, I'm going to push back on that, and I'm not trying to argue against it because I agree with you. Here's what's happening in Miami, and I suspect other blue cities. As you said about the church and how it doesn't fit you, and you're just not an absolutist. I have lately, unfortunately, been saying that the MAGA policies should not be a one-size-fits-all either. It's actually hurting red cities like Miami, because every single day you're seeing these ICE deportation trucks come in, and Miami has been known for a very long time to house kind of these blended households with legals and illegals, and they've kind of been left alone for generations. Now, all of a sudden, you're taking away family members. And even on Spanish radio, you're hearing things like, don't drop your kids off at school because there's an ICE bus there and they may pick you up after drop off, like scaring people away. Clearly Democratic controlled, but it's working. So that's why Florida 27, which is Maria Salazar, her seat's in trouble. It's on the DCCC list because of things like this.
Wow.
So for Democrats to go there, grab one of their boys back, fly them in, maybe do a hero's welcome, maybe even throw them a parade, right? They love this because that's the base. And it works on a level that maybe the three of us, we don't understand. But if you are in one of these Latino communities and you see a family member, or everyone knows of some member that got yanked from their household because of an ICE raid and got deported and didn't get to say goodbye to the family or whatever it may be, and those stories are really brewing up in communities like in Miami. So that's going to affect the midterms big time. That's why all this is happening. That's why it doesn't make sense to us, but I see it.
That's scary.
It is. But that's
That's
fear
scary.
mongering. And that's what they do over and over again. So even if so there's a lot of kids that just don't go to school now because the parents are afraid if they drop them off where it used to be a safe haven and their kids can get an education, they're afraid that they're going to get picked up by ICE there because they know that that is going to be a point of contact. It's not real. At least I don't believe it is. I'm not privy actually to really know that, but that's what they're saying in Spanish language social media and on the radios.
Wow.
Ladies, we're going to hit one subject that I didn't list. I know Angie wanted to talk about this, and you just kind of led us into it, Angie. And that is when, and goes back to the common sense thing, when is the government going to start nailing congressmen, senators, politicians who are crooked, who are stealing from the people? When are they going to finally put a couple of them in handcuffs? Angie, you brought up, we were on the phone earlier, Margot, and Angie brought up the fact that DeSantis, right, Angie, is under investigation now. And who else? There were two other ones you mentioned.
Well, so I just found it
Had George.
curious. There's all these governors that are now being investigated. So Ron DeSantis and Casey DeSantis for the Hope Florida Fund. You have former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's running for New York City mayor. DOJ is going after him now. And then you have Phil Murphy of New Jersey again. You have, it's like, and I was saying this to Butch and Eileen, are we going to do what the Democrats did to us, which is play lawfare on them? And maybe some of them rightly should be in jail for some of the stuff they did. But again, we're doing the same thing that we were complaining Democrats were doing to Trump and to people around Trump and his family. But that's kind of like, we have a big governor's race across the US in November, and you're going to now try to dirty up and lock up the opponent or the ones that are anti-Trump. I don't know. I have a little bit of a problem with this, but what do you guys think?
Well, I know Friday is sentencing day for George Santos, the former congressman. And I listened to him on a podcast or in a space the other night, and he was talking about, the amount of time they're going to give him in comparison to people who have been prosecuted for the same thing is triple what he's seen lately. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's what he said. But it's interesting that they may make an example of him. And at the same time, they've forwarded charges. A referral for charges has been done on Cuomo, which that should have been done a long time ago for what happened during COVID. I don't know what's going on with the DeSantis case. That's interesting. But let's be honest with each other. I think this is going to end up being a tit for tat every freaking 4 years. And I'm not down for that. At some point, I think some people like Cuomo really deserves to go to jail for what he did during COVID. That was unbelievable, the number of people that he put in danger. And the same with the Governor Wolf of Pennsylvania. Those people deserve to go to jail for what they did. But some of these, I think, are petty. Some of these things, I think, are super petty that they're going after. And I think we need to tell people, listen, stop. We have to get back on course. And I think one more thing I'll say about this is people keep saying Pam Bundy's not going fast enough. Pam Bundy's not doing enough. Cash Patel's not doing enough. I don't want them to go fast, because when you're in that position, really, when you're going to charge somebody, it should be one and done, not we charged them, we did it, and it didn't go through the right way.
Right. And so much of this is locked up in kind of like legal, in a big legal dance that, if, you know, a lot of it's procedural. So if you're not familiar with it, one mess up, then your case is done. Right. So
Right.
no, I get it. I just, you know, again, it's like, you're right. It's going to be whoever is in power is going to go after the other one, and back and forth and back and forth. And meanwhile, the American citizens just have to watch this. I'm tired. I'm exhausted from all of this lawfare. But I don't know
Ladies,
if there's a remedy.
I'm going to be the asshole in the group. Okay.
Last word.
Not the first time, right? Here's my opinion on it. And Angie and I discussed this a little earlier, Margot. Every time the Democrats are in power, they pull this lawfare crap and everything like they did with Trump. They did it before Trump. They did it with Bush. And there's never any pushback when the Republicans get in power. So there's never any consequences when the Democrats pull this shit. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, I want them to go back after the Democrats. It's about time they get punched in the nose for once, and there's some consequences to the crap they pull when they're in power. So I am on the opposite end. I want them to go after them. If they're crooked, nail them to the wall.
But
That's
that's
my
everybody, Butch. I'm trying to think, like, would we have Congress? I don't know.
that may be, Angie. That may be.
Yeah, no, look, I don't care if you are an elected official or not, you're not above the law. And if you committed something and it's proven in court, I mean, if you don't resign by now, you got to be locked up. So I'm okay with that, but it's got to be proven. Right now, lots of allegations flying all over the place. And I know that's politics, but man, you're messing with governors' races. You're messing with a lot of stuff like that. And I just, you know, I thought we were better than that, but maybe we're not. I thought
Well,
we would find a different way.
here's the thing, Angie. You got, and I'll give you two examples. Number one, you got Mendoza, who's going to end up in jail,
Oh yeah.
and his wife just got nailed again for bribery. Okay, or his ex-wife, because I guess they divorced since this
Oh,
shit
did
started
they?
going down. Yeah, yeah. It came out that it's his ex-wife now.
Drug
So
her
they
gold
must
bars and
when
left her.
when they got busted, she must have left. But it took two shots at nailing him. He got away with it the first time. Okay, because the Democrats were in power. You got, and let's just take Pelosi for example. Okay, she makes $225,000 a year, but yet she's worth 260 million. I want to know who her advisor is, because
You want that
that's
guy?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things I want to see prosecuted. You know, Doge is talking about starting to check in both sides of the aisle to these senators and congressmen who, after coming into office, suddenly become multimillionaires. I'm all for it. I'm 100% all for it, because the money they're worth, they did not make just doing their job. There was a lot of backdoor deals going on, and common sense can tell you that. So that's
Yeah.
just that. I'm a little more hard nosed on it than most
No,
people.
I think you're absolutely right. And you know, it's like Pelosi and others, they do 7 times better than the top Wall Street guys, right? And I'm
Correct.
thinking,
Correct.
like, maybe I should put some cash into E-Trade and trade exactly and buy exactly what they're buying, because they are really, really good. So yeah, clearly Nancy Pelosi has a second life as a Wall Street trader. And I hope that she does retire and does her day trading from home with her husband and others. Um, so I don't know if they're gonna get her on past crimes. I wish we could dial back the clock on these things. I don't know if that's going to happen. Look, clearly Pam Bondi has a lot to do, right? She's
Oh
going to
God,
need a
yeah, she
whole
does.
lot of team members to help her push through all these things that Trump wants her to do. I can imagine, like, it's just a 24-hour job because there's so much to
Yeah.
prosecute.
Well, ladies, we're going to wrap it up. First, I'd like to thank our special guest Margot Akis
Oh, thank
and
you.
my co-host Angie Wong for sharing their insights with us tonight. I can't wait to have both of you back on again. In the meantime, this is America at Play, and we thank you for watching. Until next time, we're